Hello, I'm so glad to be able to read to you today. I have a special book to read. It's one that my co-author and I wrote together. It's called Fly High, and I want to be able to read it to you, but I first want to ask you a question. Have any of you ever lost something or someone you loved, like maybe a pet or even a stuffy? Or maybe people like a friend, a good friend, or a relative like a grandparent or someone that's very special to you. Well, this book might help. And so I want to read to you Fly High. Gracie and Bennett, I want to show you the picture first. Gracie and Bennett loved helping Mama fill the bird feeders and clean the bird bath. Every day more birds visited their backyards. Doves and robins, sparrows and wrens, pigeons and red-winged blackbirds, blue jays and cardinals. Excuse me, even the occasional downy woodpecker. But cardinals were Gracie's favorite. Do you have a favorite bird? Look, Mama said. Do you see them? See what? Asked Bennett. The baby birds. There are 3 of them. Gracie ran into the house, grabbed her binoculars, and bolted back to her mother's side. I'm going to watch over the baby birds until their mama returns, Gracie announced. There's the baby birds. That night, Gracie worried. I never saw Mama Bird return to her nest, and I watched a long time. I'm sure she was just getting food for her babies, Mama said. Sleep tight, sweetie. But Gracie couldn't sleep. The next morning, they found Mama Bird lying outside the fence. She was hurt. Oh, no, cried Gracie. Bennett, go get Mama. Mama placed the injured bird in a box and moved her to a safe place. Then she hurried inside to call the veterinarian. Gracie put her arm around Bennett as they sat next to the box, hoping and praying. Mama's getting ready to go. It seemed like hours since Mama had taken the injured bird to the vet. Gracie kept an eye on the baby birds while Bennett practiced his best bird calls. Finally, the back door opened. Mama reached out her arms and pulled Gracie in for a long hug. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Dr. Bob did all he could. Sometimes these things just happen. There's Mama pulling Gracie in. I don't understand, Gracie cried. And Bennett dropped to his knees. It's not fair, he yelled. Why couldn't the doctor fix her? Gracie buried her face in Mama's hug, trying hard to hold back the tears. Shock and denial sometimes come. Look at the picture of Mama holding Gracie. Bennett kicked over the birdseed container as he ran into the house. Gracie took off her binoculars and she threw them. Then she followed after her brother. Mama cleaned up the birdseed and picked up the binoculars. She wasn't mad. She understood. There's the birdseed and the binoculars, and Mama picking them up. Sometimes we get angry when things happen, don't we? Especially things that we don't understand. And that's what was happening to Gracie and Bennett. Gracie and Bennett slept inside a tent made of blankets in Gracie's bedroom that night. Being together somehow made them feel better. "Do you think the baby birds are going to be all right without their mama?" Bennett asked. "Absolutely," Gracie whispered. Absolutely. But she wasn't really sure. There they are, sleeping in the tent. When the first glimmer of sunlight shone through the window, Gracie hurried to the backyard with Bennett close behind. "We have to find a way to help the baby birds," Gracie called to Mama. "I need my binoculars." Mama smiled and handed them to Gracie. They're getting ready to go out and check on the baby birds. Do you think the baby birds will be okay? Gracie pressed the binoculars to her eyes and she gasped. "The daddy cardinal is in the nest. He is feeding the baby birds." Let me see, Bennett urged. Mama, Gracie, and Bennett watched the daddy baby bird and his babies all day long. He would fly to the suet feeder, peck off a piece of food, and then fly back to the babies and feed them. Other times he would fly to the ground, grab a worm in his beak, and feed the worm to the babies. Have you ever watched a bird being fed? There, they're watching. Take a look. She's got her binoculars, and they're all looking. Gracie and Bennett spent the next few days watching the daddy cardinal care for his young. They did their part, too. Gracie made sure there was plenty of suet in the feeders, and Bennett made sure the bird bath had lots of water. "Squirt, squirt, squirt. Watch it," Gracie called to Bennett. "You're getting me all wet." And Bennett giggled. Gracie couldn't help but giggle, too. See here, they're taking care of the birds. They're putting the feed up, and they're putting the water in, and Bennett is squirting Gracie. Have you ever squirted somebody with water? "Can we name the baby birds?" Gracie asked. "Yes," Mama said, "as long as you understand when the babies are strong enough, they will fly away." Gracie and Bennett stared at their feathered friends and tried to think of perfect names for them. "I've got it," Gracie announced. "We will call them Faith, Hope, and Love." Bennett smiled. "I think Mama Bird would like that." See the daddy cardinal up there? As days turned into weeks, the baby cardinals grew stronger. Gracie knew it wouldn't be long before they were ready to leave their nest forever. "You know you're going to have to say goodbye to them soon," Gracie told Bennett. "But I don't want them to go," he cried. "I know. It's hard to say goodbye," Mama said. "Just like it was hard when we had to say goodbye to the mother bird. But it's almost time for her babies to fly high." Let me show you these pictures. There's pictures of them sitting and watching the birds, and the birds are sitting in the tree limbs. Now they're out of their nest, so they're getting ready to fly. One morning, Gracie and Bennett ran outside like usual to watch the daddy cardinal care for Faith, Hope, and Love. But he wasn't there. And the babies were outside the nest, perched on a branch, looking so big. Just then, Faith flapped her wings, and in an instant she was in the air. Hope and Love did the same. "We'll miss you," Bennett cried. "Fly high," Gracie whispered. "Make your mama proud." You two sure have made me proud, Mama said. Come on, help me fill the bird feeders and put fresh water in the bird bath. How do you think they felt as they watched the baby birds fly away? That night, Gracie and Bennett crawled into their blanket tent. I miss Faith, Hope, and Love already, Bennett whispered. Me too. Gracie grabbed Bennett's hands for prayer. Dear God, please take care of Faith, Hope, and Love, just like you take care of us. And please let our hearts be happy every time we think of them. That was a beautiful prayer. Bennett sighed and smiled. What are you smiling about? Gracie asked. I'm just thinking about faith, hope, and love. Doing what birds do. Flying free. Flying high. And that is the story of the baby birds, Faith, Hope, and Love, Bennett and Gracie, and their mama. As a caretaker note, it takes time to heal from the loss of a loved one or to deal with tragedy, and it is okay to feel sad. Choosing to trust and to let go of the pain allows children to remember good times and eventually understand that life goes on. After all of the shock and the denial, the sadness, the bargaining, the anger, all those stages that we go through as we go through grief, children learn to live their lives in a new way. In time, they realize it's okay to be happy. They accept the loss and heal. Like Faith, Hope, and Love flew high into the sky to enjoy their new lives, it's important to remind children that while their loved one will be missed, they can always keep memories in their heart, and that way they will never be far apart.